Hi everyone, welcome to the TriEssence martial arts channel. Today's video is going to be about introduction to advanced Wuxing Tongbei. Now when I say advanced training, it should raise some red flags because in this day and age, advanced training are usually an excuse to charge double the regular fee, give the student a false sense of progression, achievement, in order meanwhile let them do the exact same thing they've been doing in their fundamental classes, right? What I mean is like, in a lot of these commercialized macdojos schools, basic training is about learning one form, advanced class about learning two other forms, maybe some aero movements and maybe a weapon form. All of this meant to let people feel that they are that much closer to becoming a master and self-improvement, but in actuality, the quality of the motion does not change, which means they are at the same level as the first form they learned. You can learn 100 forms unless your goal is to collect movement, otherwise you are actually not improving. Now traditionally, that is not how it used to be. A good example of this, we can look at Kendo, for example. Kendo in its core has just 4 movements. Now I know there are different combos, etc. and pairing variations, but fundamentally there are 4 moves. There's men for the head, do for the stomach, kode for the wrist, hand, and there's the ski to the throat, right? There's only 4 moves. But if you take a novice Kendo practitioner, then a 4th dan Kendo practitioner, and then maybe an 8th dan master in Kendo, they will do the exact same 4 moves, but the quality is completely different. The experience, insight, timing, distance, everything is different, and it improves dramatically as you go up the training levels. And that's how traditional Chinese martial art was meant to be as well, right? It's not about knowing more advanced techniques, but perfecting the quality of motion and having new understanding on the same old move you've done in the basic training. Now, this will be, of course, I've made a video before on basic Tongbei introduction, so if you haven't watched that one, you should watch that first. You get a better understanding on how basic Wuxing Tongbei is like before, seeing how advanced is built upon that. And for those of you who have been following my channels, will know that I started doing Wuxing Tongbei about 2.5 years ago. And I go back to China 3 months out of a year to train under my masters and to improve myself. Unfortunately, last year during my trip, I was deemed ready to move on to advanced Tongbei training. And now, of course, I'm still at the relatively beginner level of advanced training. So what I do here will not be how it's supposed to be at the end, but more of an intermediate level of what advanced Tongbei should look like. The reason I made this video is because, well, so far I've never seen any other video on Tongbei that talk about anything beyond basic training, right? I never knew such training existed in Tongbei until last year when my master showed me and told me how to practice it. So I think it will be interesting to share. Now what does it mean to have an advanced understanding of the movement? First of all, we can agree on that all internal martial arts share a very similar principle. I know somebody is going to think, okay, Tongbei is not internal. Okay, now in my last video I've explained our version of Wuxing Tongbei, which was founded by great grandmaster Zhang Ce. When he was younger, he spent 10 years in the Yang family 2nd generation, learning Yang style Tai Chi. So as a result, our lineage of Tongbei has infused with Yang family Tai Chi principles, and thus making it in line with internal qualities. And our own internal style share a very similar understanding to the progression of power generation. And to quote Xingyi, which has the most clear and most well-known structure, right? Forces start off with visible force, 明剑, hidden force, 暗劲, and eventually dissolving force, 化劲. What this actually means is that in the beginning, your power generation or the motion of the quality of motion is more visible, and as you progress, it becomes more hidden, and eventually dissolved, meaning that it almost can't be seen. Right? It's been described that when a high-level Xingyi master hits you, you don't know you're being hit until your body already falling back or it's too late. Now obviously if you think about it, if I'm going to punch him like this, he wouldn't know before I hit him. So you can sort of understand how subtle the motion is that people wouldn't know they got hit until it's too late. Now the same thing can be found, or similar understanding can be found in Wuxing Tongbei, except we don't call it 明里暗里化里. Instead, it is called 沾衣发里, which means issuing force only when you touch their clothes. Right? So what that means is we're not trying to load a punch from here and just hit him. Instead, the hand sort of reach out for the clothes, and almost like when you touch it, and then the power comes out. Now, any of you who familiar or have seen Tongbei will know that, okay, this doesn't make sense, because if you Google or YouTube any Tongbei video, you will see that Tongbei is like this big movement, right? Which is the exact opposite of issuing force only when you touch the clothes. The reason for that is because, at least I believe, majority of Tongbei lineages have lost this understanding. So this phrase came from Tongbei, and it can still be found in the manuscript, but no one actually knows what it means or how to transfer it anymore. All but the few lineages that still kept the old knowledge. And now, why is this important? Right now, for any of you who's been following the Chinese martial arts scene will know that there is a common problem that plagues almost all the Chinese martial arts styles, and that is training and practicality are disjointed. What that means is, we'll take an example, let's say the Chen village, right? I like to use them because they're a very good example. When you see a Chen practitioner do their form, it looks very powerful. They have very solid routine, and they have very big power generation. It looks very impressive, especially to the untrained people. Right? I've had tons of people in the past who tell me, whoa, those grandmasters in the Chen village can really kill you with one punch because they so much force they generate. However, if you look at the fighting team, right, the group of people in the Chen village that is responsible for fighting and sparring, they fight like Sanda. They will have the jab, hook, uppercut, Muay kick, and throw, which is completely not the same as this shaking power you see in the Chen style. And if you were to ask them why that's the case, they will tell you, okay, this trains the fundamental basic, and this is how you put into practice. However, anyone with some basic common sense will know that is false, because the state standard school, the national standard school, don't train Chen style shaking fa jin. They just punch bags, do muscle exercise, weights, and all these training to get better punches. Which means you don't need all these traditional shaking to fight like Sanda. The reason the Chen village don't tell you that is because if they did, these foreigners are not going to spend a fortune going there to learn second-grade Sanda technique, right? They spend a lot of money there because they want to learn authentic Chen style. Hence, they have to keep up the facade of this shaking power they do, even though they have no way of using it. And the reason they can't use this is because the movement is too telegraphed. These power generation punches and stuff may look intimidating, but they require a very firm rooting and they require a load up and then generating of power. Unless the guy struggles to step, he will be long gone by the time the punch reach. Which is why they can't use it in fighting, and thus result them in doing Sanda for anyone who represents them in fighting. Now this, however, does not mean that Chen style could never fight since the beginning of its creation. Right? There are a lot of texts on its lost famous grandmaster Chen Fa-ke, how he would seemingly hit people without them even noticing, and they will fly out before they even register. How subtle his movement, how quick his movement is, right? He used to do things with some of the people which wrote memoirs saying that they will get thrown off balance before they even know something happened. Now that also suggests that the original authentic Chen style has a more subtle way of generating power. So this may be the beginning, but it pretty much missed the next stage. Now the same can be said for Tongbei. Right? If you look at all these Tongbei videos out there, they all show you this very big movement. But the problem with these big movements is that they're highly telegraphed. For the last year, I came across quite a few people who were interested in the type of Tongbei I do, And with all of them, I've offered them to experience the downwards P force. So what I'll do is I'll tell them to hold out their arm like this, and of course I'll hit them on the part where there's more meat, right? Hitting here is gonna always hurt, so I hit them with the muscle. I tell them to tense their muscle, and I'll drop here. Now on all of them, they've all felt a very surprising pain, right? A pain that they would not expect. It's not the kind of pain that bumps on the muscle, but the pain that sinks into the bones. So all of them were impressed with that, but very often I'll get the question that, but how would you do that when somebody punches you? Because the logical analysis here is a punch only requires this much movement. A P, on the other hand, requires me to raise my arm and then coming down here. So you see the path that I travel is a lot bigger. And thus, to the logic mind, it's too slow, right? So I'll pick up my arm and the punch will already hit me. Now, of course, there are solutions to this, such as positioning, angle, timing. For example, I can sidestep and do the chop, and in doing so, even if the timing is slightly wrong, I wouldn't get punched. And due to the angle of my arm cutting down, even if his arm is back, this still cuts and prevents his hand from coming back again, which allows me to hit. That's one way of solving this problem. Another way would be to control your pacing. For example, I could evade the punch and then expect a second punch, and then load my hand as he's coming out, without expecting him to do a second punch and catch him there. So these are all solutions to the problem. However, that's not the most fundamental solution. The fundamental solution would be to cut down the distance required to do this power. In other words, make the movement smaller, just like in Xingyi, in Tai Chi, in Bao, and every other internal style. Now you might ask, okay, if the goal is to make the movement smaller, then why train big in the first place? Why don't you just train small? The problem to that is, if you train small, you never attain the power. Just like my example in Xingyi, you need to have visible force and then hidden. If you don't even have visible force, there's nothing to be hidden, right? If you just start off with Xingyi doing very subtle, small movements, you never ever get the first force, and therefore everything else is fake. Same with Tongbei. In fact, in our lineage of Tongbei, we'll talk about the opening of the shoulder. And we believe that if you do not open your shoulder, you have not even touched the door of Tongbei. Sadly, if you look at most of the people out there who does Tongbei, the shoulders are not open. And you can't open your shoulder with small movement. The movement has to stretch as much as you can to do that. So you have to actually get the first level of power, which is the completely stretched out, heavy sinking force, before you can attempt to make it smaller. Now, just to illustrate an example of the shoulder, we'll take TriEssence, right? This is a common move you see. If your shoulders are not open, right, so if you look from this side, then the arm will pivot around the shoulder and go down like this. The problem to that is it's tense, and the shoulder blocks a lot of the force, and also the weight of the arm is cut short because this part is holding back. Then there are also people who then attempt to extend the shoulder, but because they haven't trained correctly, the shoulder pops up, so they will do this. Right? They try to put it forward, but the shoulder comes up, and it actually hinders the movement as well. Now the correct way of doing TriEssence, you can notice the difference that the shoulder almost dislocates. Not really, but it feels that way. Right? It goes like this. Now come down, it goes completely out. Almost like it doesn't hinder the movement in any way. I'll do it from this side as well, so it's like. And as a result, as you can see, the heaviness on the arm and the downward force is much greater than if you're doing this, right? Because the shoulder holds the force in. That's how a lot of people do their TriEssence. It's like that. If you don't release it, you don't have that solid force. Now that is one of the importance of opening the shoulder, also why the movement has to be big, right? If you do TriEssence like this, even after 30 years, you still want to attain that force. Now, how does that force work in practice, right? A lot of the Tongbei guys, if you see them doing this, hitting themselves, makes a slapping sound and it looks like it's quite powerful. But what you should always do is offer them your arm, right? And ask to feel that force. And more often than not, you'll find that either they will be relaxed and arm will become floppy, which will look like this. And they will flop and not do anything, right? Those are the relaxed Tongbei practitioners, the arm just relaxed. And become soft and the force is not there. Or they'll attempt to hit you really hard and get stuck. So it's sore on the surface, but nothing goes through, right? It will be like people who does Tongbei like this. It looks intimidating, but the force is what we call fake force. The surface is stuck over there, it doesn't go through. Now, the correct way of doing TriEssence force, or the effect of it, should be something like, notice how the arm drop and the head tilts forward, it breaks the whole frame of structure. Right, that is how the effect of TriEssence is supposed to be. Even if he's holding his hand when you do this, his head will tilt forward. Important of that is, first of all, we show that the force is going all the way through his arm. Of course, there's also a pen factor that you can't see on camera, but the pen sinks in, it doesn't just stay on the surface. But besides that, when I do this, it breaks his balance and structure so that when he head tilts forward, it makes it easy for me to hit him. And also it makes it harder for him to do anything else. Whatever he plans next is disrupted by this sudden drag that breaks his balance, right? Humans are quite delicate when it comes to balancing. If you want to do a combo and suddenly something makes you tilt a bit, that combo is going to become awkward to pull off. Now this power is quite impressive and effective, but of course it takes quite a big motion. I need to drive my arm up and then come all the way down, which can be a problem. So the advanced Tongbei training is basically there to elevate this force to the next level. Now anything in martial arts can be seen by 3 criteria, right? Which is why my channel is called TriEssence. There are 3 essences in martial arts. There's speed, there's the method or method of combat, and then there's power or accumulation of training which results in power. You need speed, otherwise you can't hit people. You need the correct method, otherwise you just be wasting energy. And you need accumulation of training so you can hurt people, right? It doesn't do you any good if you hit him 5 million times but it doesn't hurt. You want to hit him once and make it count. So in all three of these aspects need to be improved once we're talking about advanced Tongbei power generation. First of all, if I can cut the movement shorter, then speed increases. That is a given. Although it might not look like a lot from this down to just here, but that would be the difference of me catching his punch on time or me not catching his punch on time, or him hitting me before my hand drops down. Right? That fraction of a second could make all the difference. Second of all, now if you think about it, let's say I have the same amount of force that I generate through a longer path of motion, it will be less effective than if I take the same amount of force but make it short, make the path shorter, thus make the force more concentrated. Right? This is almost like pushing someone and suddenly punching someone or jabbing someone, right? Pushing can be a great force, but because it's evenly spread through a space and time, the actual damage to the person is a lot less. Then if I suddenly punch him or jab him with a sharp object, it hurts a lot more because it's more concentrated in a shorter time span. So if I'm able to shorten the movement, not only does it make it faster, it also concentrates the impact, which hurts more. And lastly, if you can do the movement shorter, it opens up for a lot of better combat tactical opportunities, right? The method of combat. For example, if my movement is big, then once his arm hits down, I can follow up with this, his head comes in, so it works. But it takes longer for this arm to come back in effect. However, if my arm is shorter, I can hit here, and this arm can immediately attack throat, rib, or anything else. So it makes the approach to combat more efficient. Also, it opens up for better opportunity and also prevent you from having openings of your own. So let's take, let me first show you what it looks like, right? So the same thing, just now let me do the long version again. The first basic stage of Tongbei power goes like this. It goes all the way down. The next level, something like this. Right, so you can see it's a lot shorter. I don't have to start all the way from here, I can just be here. And my hand is right here, it doesn't go down with it. And that's what it would look like. This is only on shuai, okay, and it can be applied to various other movement, to every movement, every power, shall I say. In Tongbei, we actually don't talk about technique or move, we talk about powers. Every power has a variant of the basic level and then the advanced level. So now, how does it help you? How does it help Tongbei to become more practical, right? Let me take a few examples. First of all, I've seen a while back on a video where a Pigua practitioner was sparring against a boxer, not a very good boxer, just a kid who did boxing. The Pigua guy probably not very good either, but it's a good example, right? The Pigua guy is constantly trying to do the classical Pigua move, like that, right? However, when he was doing that, before, as he was doing this, the guy punched him right in the face before this hand could come over. That's because he's loading his hand up here already and it takes too long, right? So a jab to the face will break that combo. Now, so how would you prevent that from happening, right? Is to, first of all, in Tongbei we have a similar move, of course not exactly the same. We call it Dao, Pi, Pai, Ci, right? It's a 4-hit combo. So the basic thing is this is a luring hand, right? Is to either block or to lure his hand and distract him. And then the P does destabilizing, which opens up for the Pai to the face, which ultimately to the punch in the rib to drop the person. Now, if you were to do it in the basic Tongbei understanding, then this hand will be here, and this hand will load from the back, come all the way down, and then there, which can work. But if during this loading process he pulled back, there's no way for me to stop this. So if he goes back, then this one still has to come through because I already loaded up. I'm already good. Just stay back a bit. So I'm doing this basically. Right? There's no way to change or stop or cancel or do something else in between. It's dedicated into that move. And this is it's kind of a bad situation to be in tactically. Or if I'm doing this and he pushes in, and I'm stuck too, I'm loading here, and this can't come through and he can just punch me. So what can go wrong when you preload the attack with no way of cancelling or adapting to another move? So instead, in our lineage of more advanced power generation, first of all, the first hand goes out quite soft, so that he doesn't expect much, right? If I go out like this, he would put his base resistance. Also, it's kind of telegraphing. Instead, the hand goes up like that, quite casually. But once I'm touching him, it goes down like that. Right? That is the first point you apply this kind of force. And should that fail, the next hand actually comes up here, casually. Only once I'm here, then I do that force following the punch, the hit and the punch. I don't load up from here, right? It goes like that, which then makes the move easy to cancel. So if I did the first motion and then he stepped away, I just do this into a slap to the face, or I can do this into another technique. Or if I'm doing this and he pushed in, then my hand can go from here that way, or I can then hit up to the chin like that in the 冲天炮, an upwards punch. So I'm more free to change because I'm not preloading, I'm not dedicating to the move before the opportunity is right. Right? So in other words, I only issue power once my arm successfully get to this position and this hand still controls that. Only then do I apply power and then the rest. Before that, I can go from here. Should I feel his force pushing? Then I'll just drive this way into 列门掌, into 冲天炮. Or even if you're pushing hard, straightforward, I'm just going to rip punch. Right? It can be a lot of things I can adapt. And that's the importance of 沾一发力, or touching someone then issue power, is that until I'm certain, I'm not dedicating to anything. I can always do last minute change. Of course, it takes practice and experience, it's not something just do, but it's a possibility. Whereas if you've preloaded everything, there's no change. You just have to carry it through. So that's how it helps you tactically, right? Now, let's look at another example, which would be like in 摔掌. So traditionally, when we do 摔掌, it will be a hit from here downwards, and then a palm to the face, rib punch, or something else. That doesn't matter. Right? So the point is you got to go all the way down and then follow up with that hand. not saying you can't fly with this hand, but only understanding this layer of power generation, what you go do is just here. And then the punch in the rib already, before he even notice, he'll just feel a shake here, and then the punch will go through. Now even you don't have to do that, right? Even if your hand is there, probably can't see well, but if your hand is there, this rib punch already goes in, right? His arm is not in place to stop you. And same thing can be for throat over here, and then you can jab the throat. Or you can even do this and do that hand, but the fact that your hand doesn't have to go all the way down makes it much easier to follow up. So you can see that it becomes much more efficient from a tactical perspective. Not to mention that it hurts more too. The shock will be more compacted. Another example we're going to look at is the mid punch, right? Mid punch is one of the what we call the soul of Tongbei, right? It's one of the most important yet difficult power generation. Conventional Zhongquan wants speed and thus lacks power. So what they do is it will look like this, right? So they do it quite fast, but it doesn't have the kind of devastating power that one needs to drop someone with a single punch. Now, then you have these other Tongbei people who emphasize on power, but it makes the punch too static or too stagnated, non-agile, right? So it looks something like this. Problem to this is it might look effective, but due to the preloading motion, the guy is going to know something's up before the punch comes, and you have all the time in the world to move away. And because of the force you're dedicating from here, you're too late if he moves, right? If you miss, you are sitting back to get retaliated. So these are not effective, which is why you will find that very few people actually can use Zhongquan in an actual fight. Now, in our lineage of Tongbei, we want the whole body to generate power, but we don't want to telegraph the move, right? We don't want to let people know we are punching, but we also don't want the punch to be just an arm, so that it's fast, but the guy can get punched and don't care about it. So we want the best of both worlds. So how we do go about doing that is, again, it's not about not generating power, but it's about not telegraphing it, right? So our Zhongquan will look something like this. You don't have to move. It will be stepping and punch like that. It still looks like a big move, but the thing is, from here until the punch arrives, my body is not doing anything else. So for the person looking at me, it looks like I'm just stepping forward towards him. And it's too late once the punch reaches. And even in doing this, I'm still using the whole body, the head, waist, spine, so the force on the punch is still significant, right? It's not just a tap. So let's just put it into perspective. So stage one of this power would then look like this. Right? This is how you train to have your whole body into the punch, so that you can have that kind of unified power. But this is almost impossible to hit someone who have good reflex and moves. You're going to be doing this, and that's going to be gone. Right? So in the advanced stage of training, you kind of compact that into something that, again, it's almost like just casually walk up to a guy, and the punch is done. And the shape on the body and the hip is so subtle, it's a series of punch and the power, but it's too quick for you to pick up, right? Compared to, say, the Chen village punch where they have to do that. It's too big of a motion. So the whole idea is that maybe you don't always move less, right? Try with moving less from doing all the way here, we're just moving that much. But Zhongquan, the punch don't go from here out. So the positive travel is still the same, but we shorten it by less telegraphing, right? We don't let you know I'm punching until we're in position. And once the whole body torque, the punch comes out simultaneously. It's not a motion like that which telegraphs the punch. Now these are just examples of how it differs from basic Wuxing Tongbei to advanced Wuxing Tongbei, and what it means to make movements smaller. Right? But I spoke to someone on the internet who, when I mentioned making movements smaller, they think you just make movements smaller like that, like Wing Chun. Instead of extending your arm, you do it shorter. Not saying Wuxing Tongbei can't move small, but that's not what it means to move small. It means to cut down on on the distance, on the space required to generate power. So whether I'm doing Shuaizhang all the way out there, or if the guy's really here, I'm just doing Shuaizhang here. It doesn't matter whether my arm is extended or smaller. It's about how much height I need before I drop the hand to maintain that same amount of force. Right? Of course, this is pointless if you shorten the distance but you lack in power. Right? If you're doing this to a guy but there's no power, it's pointless. So the whole point is you got to first have the amount of power you need on a basic level that when you drop your hand, the guy's arm falls and his head comes forward. And then you can talk about shortening that drop space to make the movement smaller but still maintain the same effect. And just keep in mind this is only on Shuai and Zhongquan. Every other move will have their own variant on how to become shorter and less telegraphed. But that's not the point of this video, right? The video, as I mentioned before, my videos are never there to teach you. I believe it's impossible to learn martial art on the internet. It merely serves as an educational material so that you can know what authentic Chinese martial art should be like, and that if you should you pursue training in martial arts, you should know what to expect. And if you're not getting what you're expecting, chances are you're joining a macdojo and you probably shouldn't waste your time and money there. Alright, so that will be all for today, and if you have any questions, you're welcome to leave it in the comments, or any constructive suggestions are all welcome. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching TriEssence Martial Art channel.